I like him.
Hardy City Council will come to order, please.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for the invocation.
Dear Lord God Almighty, we are the governing body of our city of Hardy, our city council, our mayor, our recorder, and all others who attend, frequent, and work here. Thank you for a quiet, peaceful place to live, raise our children, and do business. We thank you that you care for us. As the city body authority, we invite you into our affairs of our city. We ask you to grace our activities with the presence of your Spirit to guide us and help us with understanding and direction. Strengthen us, O Lord, to be faithful servants, first to be faithful to you and also faithful to other people. In the name of Jesus our Lord, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. You want to call?
I'll be calling the roll for the Hardy City Council meeting of January 4th, 2020 here at Hardy City Hall. Please answer when I call your name. Mr. Wise?
Here.
Mr. Wise is here. Mr. Garland?
Here.
Mr. Garland's here. Mr. Monroe?
Present.
Mr. Monroe is present. Ms. Taylor?
Here.
Ms. Taylor's here. Miss Allen? Miss Allen, Miss Allen?
Here.
And Mr. Hurl?
Present.
All right. You have 6 present, Mayor, plus our City Attorney, Joe Griders.
Thank you. Minutes approved.
Before I do that, just to explain to you why I'm still sitting at this table, because I thought I got rid of this job. Miss Wilson is sick. She was feeling ill last meeting, if you remember. She got over that, was doing pretty well. I think she went on some kind of wild vacation, but she is under the weather tonight and assures me she'll be back in sometime this year, but I'm not sure when. So I'm going to do the best I can, and because of that, we're kind of winging on some things. You know, I always want to be prepared for budgeting. Budgeting is the most important process we can do in this city. But it always seems like we are struggling every time to get it all pulled together. So bear with us as we go through this. On your agenda is the minutes approval. December 7th was the last meeting. Your minutes, those minutes are inside the packet. Ms. Wilson has, I wrote them and she's looked them over, so I know she's seen them. Entertain a motion to approve, or I'll read them out loud to you, whatever you need.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second.
Ms. Allen makes the motion. Mr. Hurl seconds that motion. Was there any more discussion on the matter? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstains? Ayes have it.
The agenda revisions, I would like to keep them as they were last year. I don't know of anything we need to change. Is that correct?
How you're organized as far as everything else. What he's talking about is every January, first of the year, the statute requires the council to organize, basically the mayor, and from what I understand from talking to Mr. Best, there was an ordinance passed last year setting out the rules and procedures for how the council is supposed to operate, and I believe the mayor just wants to continue under those unless there's any objection.
How many motion was that? I'll second that.
Mr. Wise makes a motion. We keep the minutes structure as done last year. Mr. Monroe seconds that motion based on the mayor's request. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstains? Ayes have it.
Next will be the report from the A&P Commission. Mr. Hoosier.
You get the mayor's mic.
Probably why he's standing up.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay. Hardy Advertising and Promotions Commission regular minutes for December 28th, 2021. The financial report, reconciled figures, operating account, $110,129.11. The reserve account, $1,036.27. The current figures, operating account, $67,455.59. And the reserve account, $1,036.27. Under old business, Commissioner Smith presented bids for the sign east of town, and we accepted the bid to Salem Graphics for $5,414, a 5 by 12 foot sign including installation, and the motion passed. The highway has approved this and no permit is needed, so that'll be under construction soon. Commissioner Smith also presented building rental brochure ideas, including rates, space, and fixtures. We'll be moving forward with needed information to get this done and a clickable online access. This will be a big help to get the building used more. Commissioner Monroe gave an update on the parking lot status. We're waiting on paperwork from the Sutherlands. The first payment has been made, second payment for 2022 for $50,000, and the final payment will be in 2023 for $25,000. The Spring River County Country ad was approved. Arkansas Tourism website is needing more business participation and photos. Commissioner Smith will contact the members in our business brochures to get them to participate. There's discussion on a 36 hours in the Spring River area photo shoot and ideas to promote the area. And the comment was made, there's currently no Hardy postcard available, so we'll be working towards that. Under new business, Philip Worrell has filled the city council position on the commission, and we're glad to have him aboard, and now I know he'll be okay, seeing as a Chiefs fan. Officers for the new year, January 1st through December 31st, will be Jeff Monroe, Chairman, and Tracy Moore, Vice Chairman, Mark Hoosier, Secretary. And we'll be looking to fill the position of Financial Secretary. And Commissioner Monroe will continue in the interim in that position. As the incoming chairman, Commissioner Monroe will work on job descriptions for the officers, and he's encouraged reading of the state statute for the A&P, the municipal code, and bylaws. The motion was made to update the F&B signature cards and bring our accounts current with the authorized signers coming off and those that are authorized coming on. Commissioner Monroe updated the commission on building improvements and needs. The locks will have been changed and will be monitored. Programmable thermostats have been installed. Better communications with the city on rentals, circuit breakers, and taking over control of the A&P electronic sign and content. We'll be looking at how we will be able to spend our monies legally, and email communications to be improved, and improvements to the facility and possible grants that may be available. Assets such as the police department camera trailer and usage for events were discussed. Wayne Penner approached the commission for rental of the front area for the Gem and Mineral Club. They have 8 meetings throughout the year. They are held the first Thursday of the month from 10 to 12. And the motion made and was approved for a $25 rental fee. So with no other further business, we adjourn. The next regular meeting is scheduled for January 24th, 2022. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Now we're ready for the city financials. Is that you, Greg?
Do my best at it. Starting on page 6, you can see the sales tax revenue. We've been tracking that in the graph format for the last year. It still continues up significantly, about 19% above what it was last year. We believe due to some online purchases, but also to the fact that we've added the dispensary to the system. That's run our revenue up in those areas as much as where's it at here? It's on the order of about 131%, so it's 31% above where it would be last year, what it would have been without that information. We're 30% above that. Now, what happens is they report it to me or to us in December. We found out how much they paid, how much was paid in November, so that's why your graph shows November, not December. December's numbers will wind up in the 2022 budget as far as revenue goes, so we'll still see some increase above what we thought we were going to have, and that will be reflected in the budget. We frankly have been working pretty hard on trying to get everything reconciled. I will tell you that the financials are still need to be combed over pretty well, so we're still in the process of doing that. That's why they're marked draft. By February's meeting, you will have what we call final financials for 2020, 2021, which is pretty standard. But all in all, the report shows we're in pretty good shape. We are over in revenue in several places. That's a good thing. We have a couple of line items that are out of whack, mainly because of how we had to operate. For instance, in the police department, we had extra personnel. We had somebody going off on leave, and we had somebody trying to cover for them. So we have salaries that are out of whack and some other things. We'll be talking about that in February in more detail. It's just too soon right now for me to be able to do that. Is there any question on what's in here now? What I'm doing, what I did for your budget planning is I took the final numbers out of this year, the very last thing we know of. So it's basically the last column in these reports. And I used that to be the seed corn for the budgeting cycle that we're going to talk about. So you'll see these same numbers show up again. We'll get a chance to talk about them if there's more detail needed. That's all I have there.
Okay, thank you. We're ready for the fire report, fire department. Have anything to report tonight?
Everything's been running real good. Austin, I think, said he had some stuff for Greg. I'm not sure. That may be later in the meeting, I'm not sure. But so far this year, we've been busy 4 days into the year.
Good. That's a good report then.
Yeah, everything's running smooth. Our park department's doing really good, keeping everything up to date and manning the station when he's here.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Police department?
I guess pretty much everything's pretty much the same. I don't know what's got run off off the roads, but we kind of, this afternoon, we discussed some of the budget and kind of went over some of the stuff, and I kind of asked him about the training, if we could up that budget maybe a little bit. That way maybe some of our officers get opportunity to do different types of training or whatever. He said he'd look into that, talk to Greg. We also talked about a couple other things that he feels like we need. I think it's in that packet that this folder's drawn out.
Yes, sir.
The handhelds and some of the software stuff. You know a lot more about it, but he just kind of, I guess, want me to bring it up where we can, I guess, kind of get this closer to being budget. There's some stuff that we're going to bring up. One of them is the handheld, the radios, upgrading the radios and stuff. He said that kind of where we're at down here, a lot of places don't have service, down around the river and some of those places. And this here is supposed to be a lot better system. I don't know if we're going to try to bring that up tonight or whatever, but it's like a $10,000 system at the radios, the whole shoot match. Then he brought up another thing to me. There's a software program coming up. And in that software program, it has a yearly annual fee. I think you'll see it on this, the one that's got the Southern software. They're on page 3. Yeah, page 3. It's like a $2,860 yearly fee. It's kind of what that's going to be. That's something he's looking forward to doing. But now, the initial cost up front, we're looking at close to $29,000. But now he said that he's talked to the sheriff's department and they're kind of wanting to maybe join up with some of that, kind of upgrade some of that. I think most of the stuff is just for discussion. I told him if he wanted to talk more about it, we'll talk more about it later on. We'll just go from there. That's kind of what this all is about, this package he brought out. Like I said, part of the budget, I guess Greg is pretty much kind of where we're going at.
Yeah, and I've got most of the information he gave me, except your discussion with him about up and training and a couple other things. You will have to add that as we go through budget.
Yeah, that's right.
But the stretch stuff of the radios and that kind of stuff is not in there yet.
That's right.
That's
I just want to bring it up. We talked about it. And I told him
hold that thought. We'll be back on it in about 20 minutes.
Hold up. But that's about it. Everything else kind of ran pretty smooth. A couple things went on, but it's all generally fine.
All right, thank you. Okay, Director of Public Works, anybody have anything to report in Public Works?
No, everything's going great. We have nothing to report.
Good, thank you. And, all right. Greg, I'm gonna let you, this is about Public Works Director was not able to take vacation last year due to the workload, and the man he hired got injured the first week or two, so he's just been shorthanded. He has asked that we carry over his 18 days of his time and pay him for it rather than be able to take it off. And that would take a vote of the council.
So what happens is our handbook, in Mr. Cooper's case, it's a special case because he's grandfathered in with a bigger package. But it basically says at the end of the year, if you don't use all your vacation, you lose some, okay? And in his case, he'll be losing 18 days. And so what the mayor's suggesting is, or recommending, I believe, I'm not quoting you here, just let me know, but is that you go ahead and pay him for that, as he will be losing it, and I think it's understood that he worked to cover for that as a new job, a new position, and the rest of it. It's about $3,000 worth of cost to us. It'll be in this year's budget. I actually have it in the budget somewhere, I think. And with the FICA and the other stuff, it'll probably cost us about $3,600. So that's what you're voting on. If you want to entertain a motion to approve that.
I'll entertain a motion to approve it.
I second that motion.
Mr. Hurl makes a motion to approve the payment of, I'll say 18 days of vacation leave to Mr. Cooper for 2021, lump sum. And Mr. Monroe seconds.
Right.
Any other discussion on the subject? We encourage our employees to take it, but in this case, I think it's with COVID, new position, people coming and going as far as employees, it's kind of tough to do. This is a budget discussion and a budget, so I'm going to do a roll call if it's okay with you, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
So a roll call vote. Mr. Monroe, how say you?
Yes.
Mr. Monroe says yes. Miss Allen?
Yes.
Ms. Allen says yes. Miss Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Taylor says yes. How about Mr. Hurl?
Yes.
Mr. Hurl says yes. Mr. Garland?
Yes.
Mr. Garland says yes. And Mr. Wise?
Yes.
Mr. Wise says yes. Motion's carried. I'll write that check tomorrow, Mayor.
Thank you. And the next one is the budget review for.
No, you're down a little further. You got the APRS official.
Public official.
I realize you didn't have a copy of this on your desk, so I'm gonna pass this out real time. I alluded to this last meeting and kind of gave you a heads up, but here's the details behind it. And I thought I had it in the packet when I sent it out, but evidently I didn't make it into the packet in time. What happened is, and I summarized this in the letter, you can read it, but what happened is basically I went to the APRS people and asked them to give me some information on what it would take for the elected officials to be in our program. That's the retirement program. Arkansas something, I forget what it is. Arkansas Public Employees Retirement Plan. This goes with it. And bottom line, I was thinking we were going to have a discussion at this council meeting about turning that on so that you guys and the mayor and the RT coming in would be able to have retirement. I think it's a great package to have. You give your time and effort, why don't we do it? Here's Joey's pass up in that place. Unbeknownst to me, when I inquired about this, they tell me that's not an option. We are in APRS and we have to abide by their rules, and somewhere along the way we agreed to do this. Now, when I took office, there was no record of anybody being paid APRS, and there was nobody on payroll for APRS in the elected official ranks. It was only our employees. So I just carried suit. So it's my fault for not noticing this. But bottom line is, not only do we have to pay our elected officials, and the rule is kind of basic. They don't really go by hours of work because the elected officials don't punch a clock. But what I understand it to be, and Miss Darlene was going to talk to this tonight, and she unfortunately can't be here, but the way they look at it is they say, well, elected official is going to do about 80 hours a month, and if his salary, monthly salary, or however he's paid, he or she, is 80 hours divided into that equals minimum wage, then you have to take out APRS. You have to hold out APRS for them. And that is 7.5% employee pays and 17 something the city will pay. So it's a city fee. On top of that, we have to, because we didn't pay it, we're going to have to go back into arrears and pay it for the employees that are here now. So, and basically for me and for the mayor, we had to go back to our hire date and look at what we paid. So what's in your pack, what I just gave you is the letter that I wrote. The back page of that's got the mayor's summary on it, and then the next page over has got my summary on it. All total, when you get to the crux of the whole thing, is we owe Acres almost $30,000, $29,514.02. And it's due by the 4th or 5th of January. We learned about this, I think I got those letters sometime about the second week of December. We have no recourse. So I will open up, you guys can discuss it however you want to. Basically, we have the money in reserves. It's not something I feel comfortable about having to do, but that's what we're gonna have to do. Pay reserves, take reserves, pay the thing up. Now, the mayor and I have been paying, we paid the December numbers and we paid for it in January, and we'll continue to pay. I'm on it for employee now, and then Darlene Wilson, Ms. Wilson, the RT, will be paying it on her program. So that's now in there.
This is something we have to do.
Yes.
It was pretty much.
Yes, I mean, you're welcome, as an elected official, you're welcome to check me out on what I'm telling you.
What I'm asking is, this is, about the rules and everything.
Yeah, I feel very bad because here I am leaving, retiring, and now you gotta pay 18,000 for me. And we may or may not get to use it because you gotta do 5 years and you gotta be so old to do it. But evidently, I didn't feel good with it. The mayor will tell you that, I guess it was last week when we got back together after the holidays, I asked Ms. Wilson to go and verify what I'm telling you because I don't want to be the only one telling you that. And she did that yesterday and came back and told me that pretty much everything I'm telling you is exactly right. That's how we have to do it. It's not optional.
Yeah.
It's not optional. Now, you don't qualify because you're only at a $200 a month rate, so minimum wage don't qualify. So if you give yourself, well, you two haven't yet, because I have numbers. But if you get a pay raise, that's something to think about. But I had thought that we probably could have everybody on it. That'd be a nice incentive package to come up here and serve. So it is in the. Did I put it in the budget? That's a good question. I don't know if I put it in the budget. I'm doing a lot of things in the budget and adding all the extra stuff. I don't know if that's in there or not. So I guess what would be wise at this point, if you so desire, is to make a motion to approve the payment so that the RT can pay this bill, and we'll go from
Well,
there.
if it's gotta be paid, I make a motion, let's pay our bills.
I'll second.
Mr. Horrell makes a motion that we pay the back payment for Acres. Ms. Taylor seconds that motion. Any further discussion?
Well, I would like to say that we did ask to opt out, and they told them that we could not, and I asked the recorder treasurer yesterday, was it, or the other day, she was gonna call and double check everything. I wasn't interested, and I'm already on the retirement system. It is the same one, and it's costing me about $80 a month out of this humongous paycheck I'm receiving. So I don't figure I'll ever get any of it back.
Yeah, and I do need to point this out. It's a good point. In all honesty, there's a portion of this that you should know about that is somewhat of a snafu. But if you look at the two bills they ran up, they have a thing called the EE contribution. That's the employee contribution. If we had been on the program starting the day we started, the mayor and I would have been paying that money out of our paycheck. It would be our contribution. The number below that is the number that the city would pay for, the ER contribution. Because it's in arrears and because we failed to pay it as a city, as a company or what have you, the basic issue is the city is liable for it. The employee didn't pay it. And I told the mayor, and the mayor's agreed with me, that if we had to pay it, we both had to pay those numbers, we couldn't do it. There's no way I'd come up with $4,862.52 to pay for this. So it's double sword here, but bottom line, that's where we are. So if you want to rescind your motion or change it or what have you.
Yes, you have to.
So what you're saying is you're not gonna have to pay,
I'm not going to pay that number. But the city has to pay.
from this point forward, it's mandatory.
Yes, and we are paying. So I pay 117 something and mayor pays 90, I think it is.
So if the city pays and you don't pay, you'll still have the benefit, or no?
If the city pays the back pay and only pays their portion, then there'll still be a bill for whatever that back pay is to the city. Basically. Yeah, I think you'll find, and the counselor can maybe allude to this, but usually in cases where a company or an employer is in violation of some sort of retirement agreement or what have you, and liable for back pay, usually it's the lump sum, it's the whole thing.
So the city will pay it all, is what you're saying?
That's right.
What about the previous mayors and recorder treasurers?
Didn't
What
go-
about them?
Didn't go there.
Billy, do you have something to add to that?
Didn't go there.
Yeah, the last person, people that I know of was on the retirement, was on a government body, was Mayor Thornton, Carolyn Rose, and there's 3 aldermen at that time on that call.
I couldn't find a record when I got here, but that doesn't mean they weren't on it.
I remember, that's when I told you, I thought that was true. Thank you, but.
I was pretty sure that there was some retirement package that the mayor had used, Ms. Thornton had used, but I didn't know about anybody else. But the records, the payroll, I just picked up payroll and started following suit with whatever was there. Miss Hobbs, who was the predecessor for me, wasn't being paid that, and neither was the mayor, other mayor, and anybody else. But I didn't raise that question with the Acres people.
They heard enough. didn't they?
Move on.
Any other discussion? If you're so willing, there's still a motion on the table by Mr. Hurl, followed by, or seconded by Ms. Taylor, to go ahead and pay the back pay of $29,514.42 for the Acres issue. If it's okay with you, I'll do a roll call.
Yes, sir.
Roll call vote, I'll start on the other side. Mr. Wise, how say you?
Yes.
Mr. Wise says yes. Mr. Garland?
Yes.
Mr. Garland says yes. Mr. Hurl?
Yes.
Mr. Hurl says yes. Miss Allen? Sorry, Miss Allen, the other Miss Allen. I do this all the time. Make sure so
Are you
mad.
talking about me?
No, I'll do Miss Taylor, sorry.
Okay, yes.
Miss Taylor says yes. Miss Allen?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Monroe?
Yes.
Mr. Monroe says yes. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Now I jump down to the right one. Holiday resolution.
There's a resolution in your packet. It's, we do it every year. It states the holidays for the city. It's 2022A. It should be on page 19 if I can ever get it open. It just sets up what the holidays are for the city so that there's no ambiguity whenever we get to those holidays. If it's okay with you, Mayor, I'll read the resolution.
Yes.
Resolution 2022A-A, a resolution to establish the holiday dates for the city of Hardy for 2022. Whereas the city of Hardy, Arkansas desires to have an orderly, civil, and productive business working relationship with the public and its employees, be it resolved by the City Council of Hardy, Arkansas, that the following 2022 holidays will be observed on the dates indicated below. New Year's, Saturday, January the 1st. In this case, we observed it on Friday the 31st just because of the way it felt and the way it hits. Martin Luther King Day is on January 17th, Monday, January 17th. Washington's birthday is Monday, February 21st. Memorial Day is Monday, May 30th. Independence Day is Monday, July 4th. Labor Day is Monday, September 5th. Columbus Day is Monday, October 10th. Veterans Day is Friday, November the 11th. Thanksgiving holidays, there's 2 days there, Thursday the 24th and Friday, November 25th. Christmas Eve will be observed on December 23rd, and Christmas Day will be on the 26th. Pass and approve this such and such day of January 2022. Ernie Rose Mayor, Darlene Wilson, Recorder Treasurer.
I'll make a motion.
You need to change the New Year's Day on to be Friday. Shouldn't that be Saturday? December.
Yeah. You're right. You're absolutely right. Sorry. So I'm gonna make a note on this one. So it's gonna be a motion to accept it as corrected. And I believe you made that motion, Ms. Taylor.
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Taylor makes a motion to approve 2022A as amended. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Hurl makes a second on that. Let me make my notes here. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstains? Ayes have it.
Down to our budget review.
All right. This is a time we all live for. I'm so happy we have 2 new people on the roll, with fresh blood here, you know. I have on your table is a packet, it's about 7 or 8 pages. It starts out with the street budget. It's numbered 1 through something or other. I suggest we start there. And what I've done is I've gone back and looked at 2020, so you have a reference there. And I've also brought forward what was the actual numbers that we had out of 2021, and then I put beside that what we have, what I would propose, or what I think is being proposed for the budget of 2022. I do have input from the fire department, from Mr. Austin Rose, Chief Austin Rose, and I have some of the input from the police department from Chief Scott Rose. I do not have anything in from water or the public works other than what the mayor's mentioned. So what I thought we would do is go line by line through these, and you see something you think needs to be up or down, we'll go through that. The bottom line is, for these budgets, it's ideal that they zero out, either that we have a surplus at the end or we at least break even. And I suggest we do the street budget first. It's the easiest. It makes you feel like you got something accomplished when you get through it. We'll do one at a time, and then at the end, we'll do the resolution to approve all 3, if we get that far. So on page 1 is the street budget. Pretty much no changes from last year. I've just pretty much rounded up on most things. You see that we make $81,000 from our various revenues, kickback, street turnbacks and those things, and we're going to spend $41,000. We have $40,000 left over. Right now in the street budget, in the bank account, we've got about $150,000. What we do is normally build that up over the course of a year or 2, maybe 3 years, and then we'll do a lump sum payment for chip and seal or some major work. But Mayor, I have no stretching here. There's nothing being done special other than patching holes and keeping the streets maintained. I don't know if you want to look at that or not.
It'll be this spring before anyone can come in here to do anything, but we plan to do the chip and sealing that we did not do it this year and next year in the spring. And some of the streets have been picked, and some of them are the ones that had no cover on them at all, are included in that. And it's an approximated cost within our budget. It won't be something that we're gonna have to come back for more money. We're planning on being able to do it within the money we have.
So I don't have a major chip and seal project in the streets, so do you need me to add that for 140, 150?
Yes, 130.
So I'll do an expenditure for your notes. I'll do an expenditure for chip and seal on, in the expenses side of 100, what did you say, 140?
Yeah.
$140,000. And then what I will do to offset that is I'll show a revenue carryover. We'll take it out of the bank account that we're setting from previous years of $100,000. That should even out and keep it right at 0 balance. Is that agreeable to the council?
Well, the only thing the difference will be probably our fuel expense, because we don't know what the price of fuel is.
Yeah, I upped it a little bit, but you're absolutely right. We do.
Yeah.
We do that. Now, and I should say this for the new folks too. This council, in the past, this administration, the mayor, has been very good about, if we see a change in budget or some sort of expenditure change we got to make, we come right to council and get approval. So I would say we probably have a very living budget. This budget we start with won't be the budget we end with, because as we go through, we have to make changes. So this is our best guess approximation to get started. So if that's okay with you, I will say we all nodded on the street budget, and we'll go next to the waterworks budget. Waterworks is divided into several categories, essentially departments. There's pump maintenance. Those of you who aren't aware of it, we collect about $5 or so per bill that goes into a fund to keep our pumps running. We use a lot of sewer lift pumps, and those things are costly to keep up and what have you. So we put money in there. That's just basically a revenue stream of $5 per person who pays a bill. So we're projecting about $34,000 in revenue next year, and probably on the order of about $30,000 in expenses if we have to do something. That is a wild guess. That fund has about $65,000 in its backlog right now. So if we have to go deeper than that, we can do that. I've got $20,000 down for repairs and expense. That's the best guess number. So that gives us about $4,000 of extra funds. Sanitation is a trash pickup situation. There we collect so much of a trash fee per person. That's gonna be about $100,000 this next year. And then we pay out of that, we use the accounting program fees out of there, so that helps pay for the billing system that we use to do billing. And then we have a new project that the mayor can talk a little bit about here in just a second called the Civic Dumpster Program. And then we do excise tax. We collect taxes out of that. We essentially turn around and pay those taxes right back to the state, so there's not really an income stream. But we have to keep up with it. Our expense stream is really something we have to keep up with. So you'll see tax collected of 10,000. You'll see tax paid out of 10,000. It's a one-to-one change out. And then we have recycling expense. We pay the waste recycling people a yearly, I think they call it a program fee or something. It's something we signed up 2 years ago, many years ago, is to keep up with. We pay about $1,544 a year for that. And then we have the trash pickup fees. To us, it's a fee from Arkansas Waste Management. They will bill us on a monthly basis about $5,000. So that program makes about $110,000. We're projecting we're going to spend about $78,000. That leaves $32,000 in the program. You want to talk to your dumpster program a little bit?
It's something we've all discussed for several years about cleaning up some of the dilapidated places in town and or unsightly areas, lots, as well as structures, whether it be commercial or residential. I've approached the waste management company and asked for a special rate for the city if we use so many per year. And then we're talking about a 40-yard dumpster, roll-off dumpster, which means they deliver it and they pick it up. And if we do this for one, let's just say, for instance, a building has fell in already, whether it's from fire or disaster or whatever. And if we could help them people with one dumpster, and we come out there and they fill it up. If they want two, they can get all they want. They have to pay for them. We can only furnish one. And it might be a situation, I know other cities are doing it, where the community can come in. If someone's got something, they have too much trash, they can throw it in there. It's not a problem. And if we did one a month, and it's placed in particular or specific areas, such as a dilapidated building, and or a lot that's, most of your old lots are not piled up like they used to be. I think some of y'all remember. There used to be some acres of tin cans and stuff that left over. But anyway, I didn't want to just make it just for one thing. I want to make it open-minded, make it a community event, something just to help the people out and help keep the community clean. And I'm not just talking about just up and down Main Street. I'm saying maybe out in the residential area, and it may be all, close to town. But they said they would do it for $400 a dumpster. They averaged, the last one I asked, I'll use Mr. Gilliland, said his was, they was charging around 800, 7-something to 800 is what he was told to have these things. That's per load, man. The city would only do it for one month at a time for one particular building. We wouldn't be able to go in there and just say, look, we're going to furnish a dumpster to clean your place up. We're not going to do that. But a 40-yard dumpster will hold a lot of material. And again, we don't do any labor to fill it. That's all up to the people. And we don't touch it. They unload it and they come pick it up.
So if I'm cleaning up an area, I can use it, go to that dumpster and use it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I have seen them in some cities put them under lock and key because they get abused.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not going to say it's not going to happen, but I'd like to try something to help get the community cleaned up. And I feel like that would be a small cost to the city, but it will be an initiative to help the people help themselves. That's what that's about. That 6,000, is that what we budgeted?
5,000.
5,000.
And basically what you're saying is you're adding that to your basic trash services in the city, trash collection services in the city. And I would say, based on what he's told me, is it's a trial program. See how it works this year, and then either approve or what have you. So, again, if you want to change one of these, you want to help it, you want to down it, you want to change in some way, like fuel or what have you, just call it out. This is more of a here we're going through this.
All right, so do we have like a zone area in Hardy or something like that for rehab? So you could do it once a month?
Yes, do it once a month.
So you could have like 12 different places people could use?
That would be fine if you, the reason I said specific location, what if disaster come through and we had a area.
Well, I
like here.
understand that.
That's the reason I said specific location. That would be determined, it could be determined by the city council or the mayor. Or the complete agreement, so everybody's words to be placed. If it, I don't want it close to my house. And that's what a lot of people will say. So I don't want to specifically do that to anybody. I want to be able to.
Right, I understand that, but I was just looking for like, you know, where you have to travel from point to point.
Yeah.
But it'll only be there for a month? Is that-
Yeah, because the whole program is designed to get a specific area that you got a real problem with.
Yeah.
Be able to relocate this, it might be, and then if I've got something that I want to get rid of, you know, I'll drive over.
Yeah.
But if you've got a whole truckload, you know, or your old building you're trying to get rid of, I'd like to see us put it closer to that building.
Right, I understand
That's
that.
all.
Like that building over there, like that building over there that burned?
Yes, ma'am.
Would it fill up?
It
It'd
would
take more
almost-
than one to fill it up?
It probably would, but it would handle nearly all of it, yes. That one right over here, yes.
Are we voting on this now, or we're just talking?
We're gonna vote with the resolution, but if you wanted to change it from a specific number, this would be a good time to do that.
It's been put in the budget.
And if you don't wanna go with
Are we
that,
doing that now?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. My question, I think that I'd mentioned, was trying to clean up a derelict property, you know, it is, you know, in the city's, you know, welfare. If we give an individual on a piece of property, on a parcel of property, a dumpster, you know, to clean that property, and that dumpster does not suffice to clean that property, where do we stand then? You know, can we put something attached to this that if we give an individual per se, for one, when you say specific property, how are we gonna designate the specific property?
If I'm understanding your question, I'm not sure that I understand it, but for instance, if we was to have one here at City Hall, we would want it here because this is where most of the debris is gonna come from. And if it's at a resident and or commercial structure in town, the property owner would have to accept the liability of it being placed on their property. And it would be each basis would be different because we don't own city property. But I hate to say that I'm gonna put it here and you live up there on Booth Road and you're gonna have a semi haul it down there because he can haul it, or a dump truck, he can haul it out to the landfill easier than he can bring it to this dumpster. That's the idea of using different locations.
So just one dumpster a month?
A month, yes.
Okay.
But they do, like, if you tear one house
But
that's been burned, if you tear it down and it fills it up for, would they be responsible for getting another one in?
Job.
Yes, the property owner would be the responsible party to
That's
complete it.
that's what I thought I had asked before that. You know, I don't have a problem with the one dumpster, 12 dumpsters a year or whatever. But if an individual comes in and asks for a dumpster, and he's granted that dumpster on his property, and that dumpster does not solve the problem of that property, then what I feel is that he should pay for that dumpster.
Then you should sign something in advance that he
Right,
would
like,
take
you know,
care of
put
the
a
rest
time
of it.
limit or tie it to a building permit or tie it to something. An individual, not the ones that are scattered through the city, that I understand. I'm talking when an individual comes in and asks for a dumpster and the city puts one on an individual's private property. Okay, if he's trying to clean up a derelict property and he accomplishes it with that dumpster, we're good. If he does not clean that property up, then I feel he needs to pay for that dumpster or whatever.
He needs to
That's
agree
where I'm
to
at on
another
this.
one.
I'm good with the 12 dumpsters and the $5,000, but I think something needs to be tied if it's given to an individual.
And if that individual has it on his land, is he gonna care for me coming up there putting my stuff in it?
Yeah, that was the next thing.
Yeah.
And when I first started talking about that was not included in it. It was gonna be specifically for
For
that one
place?
property owner.
Okay.
Personally, I felt better doing it that way because we have trash pickup for all the residents and other folks, and we have recycle center, we have a cardboard thing, and that was my first thought, was make it specifically, and I was gonna get with Mr. Ryder on it, but I hadn't had opportunity. I see where you're coming from, it's a good point, and it could be that could be a ploy
I would
to
just add that to it.
encourage them, yes. I
If
agree.
it was an individual, you know, I'm all for giving them a dumpster to clean up the property, but I want them to continue to clean up that property.
Do a completion
So it's
point, I see where you're
Yeah,
saying.
so it's finished, so the property was cleaned up.
In other words, we're willing to help you, you're gonna help yourself.
There you go.
It may take three, but we're willing to pay for
But
more.
I don't have a problem with giving
Yeah.
somebody a dumpster, but
I agree with
let's
that.
solve the problem.
So
in
can
doing
I-
so.
But before y'all do that, I think the mayor and I need to meet about some
No, I don't.
policies on that.
Yeah, so, what I would say is we'll take the action to develop, work with legal and take an action to get the policy figured out, but we'll leave the 5,000 in as a placeholder in the budget and go forward.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that personally.
Sounds
That's-
good.
That was my only
I'll do an
concern.
action on that for either follow-up meeting, or if you put a date on it for 2 months, whatever it is. We- Basically, don't get the dumpster out there until we have something written, okay?
No problem.
All right. Where was I? Sanitation's done. All right, we're going into wastewater. Wastewater and water are our two biggest departments in the, Billy's back here listening to me like I know what I'm talking about. I just learned this myself, doing it after 5 years or so. Wastewater makes revenue from its wastewater accounts. The revenue for wastewater is $140,000 projected. Now, as we add more people and do more water hookups, then it goes up, but right now that's my projection. We're looking at $144,000 in expenses, so we're $4,000 in shortfall. I would say that's probably a round off error. We can begin to figure out where that's at and modify it as we go, but that's a pretty good place to start on that. And you can see the various expenditures in there. Salaries on the order of $50,000. That's half of the salaries we basically pay our personnel that work in the water department, half out of water, half out of wastewater. So there's just a half and half thing. We've got training budget up to about 600 because we're probably gonna need more training this year for some other stuff we're doing. And then everything else is pretty well held the same.
Hey, I do have a question. If you have a business in town and it's an open business, do you have to be hooked up on city sewer and water?
I think the ordinance reads we do. Yeah, if you're in city limits, yeah.
I was just wondering.
Yeah. We can double check. It's in the municipal code, so I can double check that for you. But I'm
I
pretty
think you
sure
do in the residential area too.
Yeah, I don't know if, I know for a fact sewer is an issue because some cities, some of the other ones don't have sewer, but that'd be a follow-up question I couldn't answer, so.
Not this time.
Okay, all right, well,
I'll ask Mr. Rutter about it.
it's in here, so I'm going to mark it out and go forward with it, so I may have messed up on that. All right, so right now wastewater is at about a $5,000 loss, at about a $5,000 loss, but I suggest we leave it as is and go forward, the overall budget. We get to water, same thing with water, it's gonna make about $250,000, and it's going to probably have about $800 carryover. The $3,500 of leave that you just approved is in there with that, so it's coming out of the water department to pay that.
No.
Okay, and so that budget is pretty well close too. There's a little more stuff in water because it makes more money. We pay salaries, we pay the audits, we pay for APRs, we pay for some other stuff in there that we wouldn't pay out of wastewater. It just doesn't make as much money. The meter fund down below is pretty well what goes in comes out. We really can't control that. It's how you add a new meter, we take out a meter, that's where we are. So with that, I would say the water budget is pretty close, and we would prove as is and be able to work going forward. That's all right with you guys. That puts us on page 6, the general fund. General fund has a revenue section. General revenues that are usually paid by the state through some sales tax or property tax initiative. We also get financing from franchise, or we get funds from franchise taxes, electricity, phone, cable, that kind of stuff. We're projecting $764,000 coming in from those various funds, into those various, through those various activities, with the exception that I've got about of carryover showing up from last year. So I'm taking funds that we made last year and bringing it forward so we can use it for some stuff. Basically, we put some money in the bank. That's going to give us the 764 number. Administrative, that's the department that the clerical staff is in and that we work under inside the office here. We've got it making a little bit of money. Let's see what I have here. I basically have the auction money and various other things, that's it. Fire department has very little income. I'm projecting, and I guessed at this, I figured Chief Austin Rose is going to get his usual allotment for Act 833, which is a government fire grant kind of thing of $17,000. And that's pretty much his income, $17,000 and some change. He got a donation. They get donations at the fire department all during the year, unsolicited usually. People will do a function, list them as the recipient of the function. So that I put about $1,500. That's what they average. If you look, you'll see that before last year was $750, and the year before last was $750. This year was $1,228. So I put $1,500. Police the same way, $1,500 for them. Parks and Recreation, we get some money from the A&P for capital improvements, so we'll be doing things in the parks this year for Lowberg Park is, Buford Beach. Buford Beach is getting a new bathroom, or starting a bathroom project. So I'm projecting about $20,000. I don't know what A&P put in their budget for capital improvements, Mr. Monroe, so I'm probably guessing here if you're going to have those funds available. I got $20,000 possible for next year. And it could be higher. If it's capital improvements, it's capital improvements that are good for the city.
No, that's what we did last year, and it'll stay the same.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
The next line down doesn't have a line item number yet. It will have. Last year we approved a grant. We got a grant from the Rural Development from Tammy Mosier and Company for $30,000 from that group. We have to match it with $10,000 and $12,000. It's a $40,000 project to put heat and air in the Old Hardy Gym. And what's happened is that project is carried over into this year because we hadn't got the HVAC equipment installed due to logistics and what have you. So we're just bringing that forward. So I have an HVAC grant coming in for $30,000, and I'm showing a $10,000 expense on further down where we're having to put our money against that so that we can spend the money. Donation income, we collect taxes, excise taxes, and we pay those right back out. That's on the camper park rentals. We do camper park. By the way, the camper park made $50,000 this year. That's the most it's ever made. I mean, but when we first started, this is before Mayor Rose got here, but I guess when we come to age in Mayor Rose's day, we've had $10,000, $12,000 as usual. This is $40,000, $50,000, and I think it's probably added that much more to the city's coffers just through sales tax revenue and people shopping because they don't have any place to go. They want to get out and walk and play. So RV park receipts, like I said, was $50,706. I left that at $50,000. I think we're at the limit of our growth. We can't do anything in the wintertime because that park doesn't have winterized fittings. So you turn off all your water, you can have electricity on. If they want to live off their own tank, they're probably fine. But if you wanted to put another $20,000 into that over a year or two to update that thing, you'd probably be making $100,000 down there if you wanted to. And that's a great little money maker for the city. That's a little plug on my part. Next page, page 5. I told you that was page 6. It's actually page 4. I apologize. Page 6, or page 5 is the administrative expenses. So this is where we spend the money I just told you about. And it's listing down through here. The one thing that was new this year is the cybersecurity. It's item 5004. It's got cyber written out to it in the right-hand column. That's an expense that we have ongoing, reoccurring. It pays for our expenses for Microsoft devices, our online support, 24-hour support, and those things. That was agreed to last year. It's a carrying on thing. I don't know of anything. Oh, I will speak to one of the items. If you go down about another 8 lines down below the cyber line, there's 2 items in there that are negative. They actually contribute income to the system. We pay when we pay our payroll for our employees. We will take out the necessary funds to pay all the payroll accounts like withholding taxes, health insurance, the retirement programs, and those things. Occasionally, we get some changes to what we thought we were going to pay versus what they want us to pay. In the case of LAFI, the local law enforcement, police, and fire retirement plan, the state gives us a grant every year. They call it an assessment or some administrative name, but basically they just dump some money into our LAFI account that we can use to pay our lawful fees. Well, we've already computed what that's gonna be, so I've already sent those funds over to the payroll. So sitting in the payroll account right now is $11,314 that we thought we were gonna pay for lawful, that we didn't have to. That will be brought back into the city coffers. I'll move that back into general. That's where I'm showing going in. Same thing is true for health insurance. We had several employees. We had one gentleman we added, and we started deducting health insurance, which the city pays for. And then that employee resigned before we could enact the insurance. So basically, I just put the money over, and I got to bring the money back. And so that's what this is 4 or 5 instances. We had one instance where we had a person was paying insurance that shouldn't have been because they were part-time. They essentially moved over to full-time, but for 3 months I paid myself health insurance and didn't use it. So this is just cleanup for what's in the payroll account. All total, we're going to spend $203,000 almost in administrative fees. The next item down is the library department. We just call that overall spending. We'll pay for some maintenance. We'll pay for some for their electric bill. We'll pay for various other things up to $5,000. I just don't run a detailed budget on that. So that has been $3,700 in the past. This year they ran up to $5,000, and the mayor's recommending we take that to $5,000. It's an asset to the city. We want to support them.
But the building belongs to the city.
Building belongs to us, and they take care of, they were paying pest control, which is your basic stuff. We pay termite control for it, and that kind of stuff. It's limited what they will pay, but they've been really good. They've been very frugal with the money when they need it. They don't call us unless they have to, but then when they do, it's usually something we want to try to do. So. Now in Parks and Recreation, you got 2 things going on in Parks and Recreation. You've got the Parks Departments, and by law, by ordinance, or by resolution per the council, our parks make up Lowbird Park, Dr. Thompson Park, the Old Hardy Gym, the Civic Center, and Beaufort Beach. Those are our parks. So when I'm talking about park, and the RV Camper Park, it's part of that activity also. And the RV Camper Park makes money, so it's a revenue generator, but the other parks are all revenue sinks. They take money out for expenses. But that is our Parks Department. I will be coming to you next meeting. I talked to the mayor about this. We have now got a surplus property that we're renting quite heavily. We know it as the Hardy Senior Center. It's the old post office up here. It's getting a lot of attention, and right now it's not in the Parks Department. It's just kind of sitting in the city's asset pool, and we've been renting it out or leasing it out or whatever as we go forward. I will probably bring a resolution back and say, let's make it part of the Parks Department and put it in the pool here, but right now it's not. So this is what we're doing with that. The big one down here is the third line down, number 5004. It's for $20,000 in lawn care services. That's to have somebody mow the grass in the various parks and various other facilities around the city. We had a contract last year for a little over 10, I think, Mayor, and that wasn't good. I'm probably a little lean on that. We may need more money, but $20,000 is what I'm thinking we're trying to get for this year. They'll be taking bids again. Stop me anywhere now through this.
So the city's not going to take care of it?
The city's going to pay somebody to do it that's professional. That's kind of this.
Well, whenever the city done it, it was done right.
That's what I say.
Yeah.
And when they started doing it again, it was...
Yes.
Yeah, we have the equipment, and you can talk to the mayor here. You may want to put that back in the budget as a personnel thing. It's up to y'all. But right now, it was voted last year to be a contracted service. It didn't work as well as we wanted, but I think that was the contractor. I really think we've got an issue there.
Because when the city started taking it again, it looked good again.
Yeah. So we're going to leave that as it is right now. Again, you can revisit it. We're not going to be doing mowing services for about 3 months, so that'll be a contract coming. He'll be bringing a contract to you to approve for this gentleman, at least this outfit, to be able to do that. So that's part of what we do. I do have new construction in here. It's on further down. There's a break, probably about 10 lines down. There's new construction at Beaufort Beach. That's where I'm showing the $20,000 that we're going to do for the bathroom there. That's probably a little light. We did some stuff last year. We did the no-rise and a little bit of work there for $3,000 or $4,000. So that money was paid for in last year's budget. We're going to do $20,000 in this budget. Hopefully it takes it forward. Right below that is new construction for the HVAC gym. That's where I told you we have the grant. 10,000 is ours and 30,000 is theirs. Anyway, all total going all the way down. It's $183,276. It's up. Last year it was $109,000. Remember, 50,000 of this comes in from somebody from the RV park, so it helps pay some of those fees. It's up that $60,000-$70,000 because we're doing those two big projects, one of which is being funded by the rural development for $30,000. This year, if you remember, last year you voted to separate your public safety department into fire and police. I cannot tell you how hard it was to get fire and police in here in the right numbers because we've been paying them 2 years as one big department and then breaking it out separately. But this is my best attempt at trying to figure what that is. So Mr. Rose is here. We want to talk specifics, or Mr. Wise or whoever. This is going to be the first discussion of that. For the fire department, and I don't have Stretch in here, Mayor, as far as, I don't think did I do something on salaries? Yeah, well, I did because we didn't have any salaries in there last year anyway, because we didn't have a guy part-time in the last month or two. So there's a line in here for $33,000 for salaries for a part-time fire personnel. I think the chief was looking to either make that 2 part-time people or 1 full-time person. And that's probably a matter of discussion tonight. Right now, I've got it for $30,000, would probably cover 2 part-time personnel with maybe 25 hours a week, something like that. If you want to do that. But anyway, that comes to $159,487. And just for the new guys who have not seen this before, line item 6490 is about halfway down that fire column there. It's called reimbursement expense. We pay our firefighters so much, I think it's $12 an event. They go out on a call, we pay them what we call reimbursement for $12. If they're there more than an hour, we pay them for every hour, $12 for every hour they're there. For fire meetings, we pay them $5. And that's something we pay quarterly, so it's about $17,000 what's on the beam. We did that last year for the first time, and it's worked out pretty well, I think so. Any questions on fire? All right, let's go to police then. And I should point out in both places, both fire and police have an item that they're on loan, have a loan for, so there's a debt retirement program for both of them. About $10,000. $10,000 in fire pays for a fire truck, 1 more payment on that, so that's good. And $10,000 in the police car. I think there's 2 more payments on that. We pay it one time, middle of the year. Significance here. Well, Mr. Wise, I don't know what you had in training budget. I put $1,000 in travel and training. I think you were trying to up that to 2,200 or something, 2,500.
Yeah, when it raised, it was about 25.
25. Okay. Was there any other changes? Most of everything else that Mr. Chief Rose presented, I put in.
Yeah, right.
The only thing I don't have in here is the stretch things. That's those extra items that you talked about with the sheriff and the rest of it.
Yeah.
Do you want to go over those one more time?
Yes, if they want me to. Well, I kind of had to spill already, so I'll try to keep it brief. But Officer Rose was talking about this. I think all y'all have this here. It's in that folder again. I had all this together. I had all this together a few minutes ago. But anyway, this is the radio system we talked about. And the cost of them is about $10,500. He's got it all broken down, and that's pretty much something that I feel like we got to go to. All right, Officer Rose?
It's in the near future.
Yeah.
The other agencies are already in transition, and the FTCs are required to be mandatory. They don't want to limit it, and it's not yet.
Yeah. And pretty much a lot of those causes like down the river and stuff, don't get regular reception, and we really didn't work.
Our radio communications are slim to none, and which is a huge risk to not only the officers but to the public. So yeah, the transition is almost that's a crucial issue.
Yeah, this one here. And then the other one, and like I said, I'll let him talk more about it there, but the other one, it's got a yearly fee to it, but it's a software program where officers pretty much can set their vehicles and pretty much do everything they have to do. Now the annual fee is, on page 3, is $2,860.
The criminal reporting software,
Yeah.
they're required to do this. That's a national
That's right.
requirement.
They're required to do this. It just, now it's pretty much y'all gotta come to the office and pretty much hand do everything. But that program's like $29,907. That'll be a one-time fee, but like I said, it does have a cost every year. You know, back to that $2,860 on page 3, what it does cost. And I really like Officer Rose to explain a little bit more about it. He's explained it to me, but I think he'd do a little better job than I would.
Okay, so basically, what we use right now is a company called Relativity. Every agency in the United States has an obligation and a legal requirement to report criminal reporting, and it has to be uploaded to NIBRS, National Institute of Reporting Software, basically. So I may that's a little off, but the Sheriff's Department, maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years, was struck by lightning at their dispatch center, which is the hub of all of their communications, and they lost all of their data, all of our years and years of data. So they contracted with a new company called Southern Software, which is there's two applications of it. There's the CAD system, which is what they dispatch out of. When you call 911, dispatchers enter into that CAD system, and then they also have their reporting system, and they communicate together. Well, we're on a different system now, so we're unable to communicate with each other, and it makes it very difficult for us to be able to keep up with all of our activities. In other words, if you get your home broken into, and even Shade has a home broken into, we don't really know about each other unless we all meet up and talk. With this system, if we're able to switch to the same system that the Sheriff's Office on, we will actually have our server in the Sheriff's Office. We will all communicate together. Not only does it help crime prevention and crime awareness for all the officers to be able to communicate together, it also makes it to where our officers will be able to, every 911 call or every call for service is a report generated, because the dispatchers who we already pay just enters that data. So there's a report created for every single one. So it not only helps us, it helps the community, it keeps better record keeping, it streamlines all of our reporting software to just the most, top of the line and the most efficient manner to do it. And the reason when he says the officer will be able to stay in their cars, that keeps the officer out on the street. They're out there on the road. They're not sitting here in an office for an hour trying to catch up on paperwork. They're out there. They can pull over. They can pull into a parking lot, or they can sit there, and they're still doing double duty that way. So it's also a crucial thing that we eventually are going to need to switch to. We tried for some grants, but due to some unexpected things going on in our country, they're not able to give us any grant money for that at this time. I'm hoping there might be some funds that can be sought after, or possibly at other avenues, but it's a crucial need that the department really needs to bite the bullet and get done for us to be able to operate efficiently. So, hope that explains it a little.
So boil it down to one number you want. How much more money beyond what I've got in there right now? What's the stretch on this? 30,000, 36,000, 22,000? I can't tell what's added and what's not, so.
Okay, for the reporting software, there's it's 29,000. I did reach out to the Sheriff's Department due to the fact that this will help them also. He's looking to see if he could possibly contribute to some of this, but I can't count on that. So I'm asking for the full amount, but there's a great chance that the county will be able to contribute and use some of those funds also.
What's this 10,000?
The 29,000. The 10,000 is the radio communication. That's a separate.
So there's a total of $39,000 being asked for at the stretch.
That's right. That's my Christmas wish list for this year. That's the two out of everything that I can think of that we need the most. Those are the two most crucial needs that the department needs.
And I'll just tell council that's not in here right now. That's not in this budget. So
separate.
Either we put it in now and find a way to pay for it, or you consider doing something at a later date and we'll add it in then.
I got a question. Now, when you're with the county, you're talking about the Sharp County, out here at Ashland, right?
Mm-hmm.
So will this system tie into their system?
That's what it is, yeah. It's actually, in order for us to do that, it would put us with their system to where we all communicate together. Our dispatchers immediately will be able to have communication with the officers. It also takes away from our reporting obligations. They enter a lot of that data whenever they're taking the original call. So it's already there, so our officers actually log in when they arrive on a call, they're able to just add to that. So it takes away a lot of time. It's a time management for us
I noticed the date of this is almost a year old.
Yeah, I followed up with him. Our quote's the same. Yeah.
Or it is the same?
Yeah, there's been no changes to him. He, just less than a week ago, followed up with him.
So this is just to tie in with them. I mean, this is just an update for us. They've already run the system and everything.
They've been using it almost 2 years now, and I did follow up with the sheriff again, and I kind of asked what his opinion is. It's the best thing they've ever used. I mean, it's just, it efficiently puts everything
We
all
got a
in
new sheriff
one.
next week, so.
One that groups us all together. The other agencies
Do we have
in
this
the sheriff's
money
help
in
service,
reserve
we all
that we could add it later?
soon to get on that same system.
Have any other cities gone with this?
Not yet. That's what the sheriff's, once we do this, the sheriff's hoping that he can talk to the other agencies and get them to do it. Because again, it benefits them. And I can't promise that he's gonna pay for some of this, so I'm asking for the whole amount, but he feels confident that he will be able to contribute to some of this.
So he said we have it in reserve, we could add it later, and by that time, we might know if the sheriff's office is gonna pay part of it, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
So if we budgeted it, and then we ended up getting more from them and or a grant, is that a possibility for a purchase?
I mean, if we went ahead and purchased it and we budgeted and purchased the system, there's a possibility that there's some grants that will come about. There's, from my understanding, there's supposed to be some funding coming available soon, but we don't know. I mean, we won't know until that happens, you know.
And this one on the radio,
Yes,
now, when we was talking to the guy today, he pretty much said he was pretty sure there was gonna be a grant for this part.
There's a good, yeah.
Very good chance for this.
I'm not counting on any grants
That's right.
because that's been,
That's for the 10-5 you're talking
Yes,
about?
yeah.
yes.
It's been a little harder to get them right now.
Yeah, that's what he said.
But there's a good possibility that we could, along with these purchases, get some of that back. But the reason I didn't mention it is I'm not counting on it. I'm asking for this to be funded, but there's a possibility we can reach.
So if we do it tonight, we would do a $39,000 or $40,000 expenditure, just roll this, be close to where it's at. And I would have to show that as pull money out of the revenue reserves to cover that as revenue. Because we don't have a grant, we don't know.
How long
And
would it take
you
for
could
this?
proceed that way, and then you could decide that you want to, if you get the grant, then you don't use your revenue, you're fine, so that'll
So
work.
how long would it take for this, once you decide that if you pull it out of your revenue, your reserve, how long would it take for you to have this implemented up and running?
Within 30 days. The Southern Software is out of their main hub is out of Texas, I believe. They actually, part of the expenses is them flying up here. They actually install everything and then they spend several days training us. So they don't, it's not just for this program, it's actually for them to come set us up with the Sheriff's Department, train us. The Sheriff's Office also agreed for his guys to also kind of teach us how to work with the system as well. He told me whenever we first did this that it takes about 30 days to completely get it implemented for them to come up here and do it. So that's pretty good timing to me. In that kind of field, that's pretty good in my opinion.
If grant money was to be applied, I'm not real familiar, if we go ahead and spend the money, can a grant?
Depends on the grant. Some grants will say you can't spend, if you already spent the money, you can't use it for that. Some grants will
That's what I thought.
reimburse.
That's why I was asking.
Yeah.
Depends on the grant.
Yeah, so if you go ahead and buy this stuff in March and then in June they release a grant says that you can buy it now, you've already bought it, you're in trouble probably.
I just wanted to clarify that.
One thing I'd like to mention, you might as well, let's say for instance, the data that was lost a couple of years ago with the Sheriff's Department, is that correct?
Yeah.
Mr. Dryden is also a prosecutor, can tell you how important that is to cases. When you're trying to make a court case and you don't have the evidence, you don't have nothing. So it's pretty critical information. It's not just in radio communications in this town. Personally been there for 30+ years. It's never been any good. It will not work in this fringe area.
Neither will your cell phones.
And that radio thing is a must.
Yeah,
It does need to be done.
It's also transition, the radios that we're going with the plan is for the county has to switch to digital. The FCC's, that's mandating that eventually happen. They are working on doing that. Other agencies have been slowly kind of purchasing a digital analog radio, but what they're multi-function, they'll work on the system we're on now, but they'll also work on the new system once they switch. And that's what these radios will do, and they're also a more modern radio than what we're currently using, so they'll work more efficiently on what we're on at this this time, so it's just all around. The quicker we can get in those radios, the turnaround on that, they said they'll be here in 30 to 45 days.
So what's, now, how long do you, I mean, how much do you have to update these? Like every 2 years, you have to update them and put I mean, everything, I mean.
Oh, no, the system, now that, we pay 2,800, what is it?
Yeah, 2,800.
2,860, I believe.
That's
A
for
year.
$2,860.
All updates, all annual upgrades, all annual maintenance is all what we pay 2,800 a year for after the initial cost. Radios, as long as the sheriff's office stays on that current digital system they go with, usually 5 to 7 years is your top. Now, we've got radios now we've been using for probably, I'd say 8 or 9. And but it's the old analog system, and
So we're
radios
gonna-
have been improved.
So I'm just trying to put the numbers in my head, so we're gonna spend basically 40,000 plus 2,860 every.
Yeah, the 28's figured in that. Everything's figured in our initial.
But I mean,
cost.
but all that, that'll be coming out constantly.
Yeah, currently the system, the relativity we're on is usually higher. They're anticipating wanting to, they give us a year for free, but we're not getting much of our features, and it's gonna be a $4,000 to $6,000 annual cost is what.
But
my understanding
you wouldn't
is.
turn relativity off for this year, probably. You leave it on and run this with it.
Relativity, the free version, so we can keep our previous reports and previous data will always be there. You know, we'll have to keep it, which we have hard copies of everything, but yeah, we have to keep it, their free basic version that doesn't cost us anything, which is just a one system in here. It doesn't allow us to communicate with anything else. So, yeah,
We just need to do a voice vote or something to put it in the.
Yeah, I think you want to make you need to decide what you want to do. The best way to do that is just make a motion and follow up with it. You want to put it in now and pay for it out of reserves and take it to figure out where you're at, or you want to hold off
Well, the only problem I have is if there comes a grant later and we've already paid it, then they're not gonna give it to us. That's my,
we don't
Well,
know
I
that.
agree.
as long as we have,
For that also,
I
so.
agree.
as long as we haven't expended the funds, if he finds a grant, let's say it's March and we still haven't paid for it because they haven't billed us for it, then we could probably still be able to get a grant through there and pay for it. But it is a race condition. You would have to deal with that.
I'm not anticipating that, though. I'm asking for the funds because I can't promise you'll get a grant. I can't, we can wait 6 to 8 months and still be sitting there waiting, hoping a grant comes about, or there may be one come out 2 weeks from now. I'm not anticipating the grant because it's a need that we have, it's pretty crucial.
You have about $460,000 sitting in reserve accounts for the
I make
job.
a motion that we proceed.
I'll second.
So Mr. Monroe makes a motion, and by proceed, you mean to add this $40,000 to the budget? And and pull carryover funds, carryover reserve funds into it, okay?
so
And
we're saying,
Who was, Mr. Wise, you seconded, I believe?
so we're saying if the grant comes later and we don't get it,
We may miss it.
We might miss it. though.
Wait, grants, look how long it took us to get the
you don't think
the
we should wait and
HVAC
see?
grant. That's why,
Yeah, we
the
got.
way I'm looking at it is that we're gonna have to fund it ourselves.
What about just
We might
time
get lucky.
frame?
But we won't get the grant if it comes available later.
It depends on the program.
If we spend the money before the application.
Well, I know Chief Rose pretty
Okay.
well, and if he can get the grant to pay for something, he's gonna pay for it with the
Well, I
grant. So
understand.
it's
What about just a time frame to hold off just,
That's,
for a while?
That's something you need to direct, I don't know.
Say maybe even just, 3 months or something like that.
We're talking about the price of a patrol car.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm
What
gonna say.
what are we getting for our money?
Yeah, that's how
That's the way we need to look at it.
Yeah.
This is a tool, it's a police car, is it a building, is it a machine? It's a program, the way I understand it. I'm not as familiar with it no more than y'all are, because I haven't heard much about it. But I will say the radio communications is the worst in the state, to my knowledge. I've not talked to anybody that has a problem we've had here for 30 years. The program, it sounds to me like to keep up with the times, that's what he's talking about, is that correct? The sheriff's office already did it, now they're waiting for the cities to do it?
Yeah.
So it sounds like a lot of money to me, and of course, I'm the first one to holler, let's get a grant. But you're right, we may not see it, if we did, it'd be a year old. Probably not.
And we have the cash to do it right now.
yeah, we are working a grant for a police car. That's one thing we're
That's,
doing.
I won't say that, but I didn't know.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm also saving, I've been told, I went to a conference that I was all but guaranteed that once a few things change, at least after March, we've got a $50,000 grant to go towards a new police car. So I haven't asked for a new car this year. We are way behind. In order for you to keep a good fleet, you have to keep your maintenance and keep your fleet upgraded. And that was a little bit falling behind. So I didn't ask for that because I am anticipating that grant, and I do feel fairly confident we're going to get that. So we're saving about $50,000 already this year by not having to purchase a new police car. And that falls into the other bill that I think has been brought up about.
So I got a motion on the floor by Mr. Monroe to spend $40K and put $40K in this budget to purchase the radio system just talked about, and it's been seconded by Mr. Wise. Did you want to amend your budget, your statement anyway?
Let me ask this, is this something that was put out to bid or anything, or do we have an ordinance?
Both companies don't, there's something, the sheriff already checked on that. They don't have, they fall under some kind of, I forgot the terminology.
I know, but I need
you don't have to go over bid with them.
Yeah, I need you to get that so we can have that before they vote on it. I'm not trying to cut it off, but I'm just trying to say, I think what you're talking about is that.
They don't have to bid, I do know
They're
that.
part of that Arkansas group, but we need proof of that, because we've had, they can always say they do it, but until we get it.
Well, I would offer that we could put it in the budget.
Yeah, okay.
But we can't expend it till I see the bid,
That's
to
fine.
satisfy yours and the mayor's.
That's all.
Okay. I did ask, and I just can't remember what that's called.
No, I know, but I know we've run into that.
So you'll amend the motion?
No,
you don't have to.
we won't expend the funds until we see the bid, because basically by law, we have municipal law that says you got.
It's just gonna allow the resolution to cover the overall umbrella of the budget.
Right. Is there any modification to that then? You want to in the budget, 40,000?
So then you'll have to give the mayor the authority and the recorder treasurer to sign the contract, so then we'll have to deal with that.
So,
I've got a question. Okay, so we're talking about, we might not get a grant for this. It could take a long time, so you don't want to prolong this. But yeah, you're talking about buying a new police car that you're hoping to get a grant for. What happens if we don't get a grant for that?
well, that's not in the budget. That's not in this budget.
The grant's not.
When that grant comes along, then they would put it in the budget and do it in and out kind of thing.
If I'm not mistaken, that grant's already in the making.
Yeah,
That grant's already in the making.
Yes, it's already in
Yeah,
there.
they're waiting on the funds. They told me I'm getting the money, but the federal side of it is waiting on those funds to be.
It was applied for last year.
But just
So
explain.
you're not coming to
It's a little
us
bit
next month and
different.
say you want a new car.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to.
Well,
Let me say, no.
So next month, we're sitting there, you're not coming and say, hey, that grant fell through, I need a new car.
And I don't know, is this a good time to explain the car issue?
no.
Now, and the attorney's gotta look at that first.
All right, so, Ms. Allen, just so you know, the reason that car is not in this budget and it's not being mentioned with the grant is because it's 100% grant. If we get the grant, we get the car. I will be coming to you if he does get that grant and say I need to have an in of 50 and an out of 50 so we can show pay, but that's the only thing we'll be doing with it. But right now, it's not in his budget. And knowing Mr. Rose, Mr. Scott Rose, like I do, that if he needs a car, he'll be here tomorrow and he'll be asking for a car. So it's one of those kind of things. But right now, I've got a motion on the table for 40,000 in with a reserve count to cover it. And because all we're doing is changing the numbers in this budget, we're about to vote on this budget as a total. I'm just going to do a voice vote real quick. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstains? Okay, so that ayes have it. So I'll put that in the budget, 40 and 40.
Thank you.
And I think that unless there's something else in the police budget you want to go over.
No, he said no.
So there's two things I need to explain because I glossed over them and I forgot to tell you about them. One thing is I'm going to put a 30 in, 30 out for the approval you made for APRS because it will be coming out of our budget. So I'll take that out of reserves and I will show that being paid for your agreement to do that. But it will be in this budget also, so it's be a double whammy for approval. And then I want to draw your attention to page 4. Go back to page 4, top of the page, revenue. I've highlighted an item in there called grants. It's item 4156, line item 4156, about halfway down. It's 79,000, actually 79,000 and some change. We got money delivered to our account in mid-September of $79,000 for the stimulus funds. And those funds have been held up now for the last 5 or 6 months because no one knows how to spend them. It's an act of God to figure out how to spend these funds. Mayor's been on the phone with Municipal League. They've hired a lawyer and an accountant to assist the cities with doing this. We think that'll be freed up. We also believe we're gonna get a matching set of funds, $79,000 this year. It's kind of a half now, half later. These are the kind of funds, it wound up in our account. It was kind of a nice thing, but I just stuck it in the account and said, we're gonna leave it there until we know what to do with it. But I'm assuming we can spend those funds. So if you look, it's in the revenue package for this year.
Okay.
Somewhere it's in the revenue. Now, it may not be usable for, salaries for this or a new car for that or whatever, but it will be used somehow, and we'll use our other funds, our funds for that, and just kind of transpose it. So this is a little bit of a stretch. I want to make sure you know that. Okay?
They haven't clarified what we can spend on.
They haven't clarified.
This time.
They haven't clarified. And
They're
Mayor's working on it.
Everything I've heard.
Yeah, they actually have, some people have already spent it, and they've approved certain things, but nothing that we want to get into right now.
You will be hearing us talk about what's spent. Somebody will be talking about it. If that's anything else to talk about, we now have gone through the budget with the criteria that I just talked about. And what I'll have to do is then take this information, roll it up into a new budget and present it. I would like to ask you to, and basically put the mayor on point here for approval, but I would like to go ahead and approve the budget resolution that's in your packet, that basically says this is the budget for the city, so we can get that out of the way, and charge the mayor to make sure that when I do change these numbers, it matches up with what you've agreed to tonight. So just basically,
I'll make a motion to go ahead and do that.
I'll second that.
I'll read the resolution to you so you have it, but resolution, another packet in your agenda packet. It's 2022-B. I have a motion to read and pass. Let's just go ahead and read it real quick. Resolution 2022-B, a resolution providing operating budgets for the fiscal year 2022 beginning January 1st, 2022 and ending December 31st, 2022 for the city of Hardy, Arkansas. Whereas the City Council has made a comprehensive study and review of the proposed 2022 budgets, and whereas the City Council is required to approve an operating budget for the general fund, street fund, and the Hardy Water Works for the year 2022, and whereas the City Council finds that the attached budgets reflect the anticipated revenues and expenditures for the calendar year 2022 as accurately as possible for budgetary purposes, should be adopted as the budget governing city operations for January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of Hardy, Arkansas, Section 1, this resolution shall be known as the budget resolution for the city of Hardy, Arkansas for the fiscal year 2022 and shall provide budgets for the general fund, street fund, and the Hardy Water Works. All revenues set out herein are estimated and are all subject to change. All approximations are calculated, portiontations are calculated as approved revenues. Section 2, the respective amounts of each and every item, expenditure classification herein proposed as the budget of 2022 are approved by the city of Hardy, Arkansas, and are hereby authorized and apportioned for the purposes herein set forth for the calendar year beginning January 1st, 2022 and ending December 31st, 2022. Section 3, the City Council hereby adopts your attached budgets as the budgets governing operation from January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022. Pass and approve this. It would be the 4th day of January 2022. Mayor Ernie Rose, Mayor, and I got Greg Best down there. I need to change that. I've been signing checks too. It's been driving me crazy. Darlene Wilson would be on that before it gets signed. And Mr. Earl, you want to let your motion be to approve this? Mr. Earl makes a motion to approve Resolution 2022-B as read or as modified with the change in the RT. Who seconded? Ms. Allen. Ms. Allen, thank you. So I got a motion by Mr. Earl, a second by Ms. Allen to approve the budget of 22-B. This is money, big money. So let's do a voice vote, a roll call vote. Yes.
The total we have in general reserve funds that was now as fours.
We got $400,000 in the bank account. And we got about $62,000 of carryover funds sitting in the operating fund. Yeah.
Of that, we're implementing to possibly use how much?
70.
70?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. Well, I take it back. 70 plus. I had some numbers in here from carryover. The gym HVAC carries over 10,000. Some of that 60 sitting in the operating. Yeah. But we spent today because of the criteria.
I just wanted the number out.
Yeah, yeah. All right, roll call vote. I'll start with Mr. Wise. Mr. Wise, how say you?
Yes.
Mr. Wise says yes. Mr. Garland?
Yes.
Mr. Garland says yes. Mr. Hurl?
Yes.
Mr. Hurl says yes. Ms. Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Taylor says yes. Ms. Allen?
Yes.
Ms. Allen says yes. And Mr. Monroe?
Yes.
Mr. Monroe says yes. Mayor, you have a budget.
Thank you.
That is everything on the agenda except for, I believe, or did you want to talk about this or not?
He's had enough.
I don't think it's necessary. I don't think anybody's going to argue.
Oh, I hate to tell you this, we got full sheet tonight, but it's all blank, so I guess.
Okay. I think everybody's ready on adjournment.
I want to make a couple comments before you adjourn.
Yes, sir. I did adjourn.
First thing is he's talking about software, wherever he went, that you're gonna be adding on, and you're paying a company $30,000 for security on software. Are those two things meshed? Are they working together? So if they're not, maybe you wanna look into that. The second thing is the quorum court sounds like they're giving $800,000 to the ambulance service. And they're gonna be giving out this money that they have accumulated from the money that the federal government's giving them. And they're gonna be giving it out. Now, since the situation that is just happening where they changed their software, maybe you can go to them as well and ask them for monies like they're gonna be giving the ambulance service for this particular project, which seems it might be a feasible thing. So
That's what the sheriff's doing.
I just want to bring that to your attention because they're going to have a forum where charities and other instances can fill out to request money that is the money that's going to the Sharp County. And does this also tie into Fulton County?
No, not Fulton County at this time.
Okay.
They're on a different system. But
That's it.
The sheriff is
Thank
asking
you.
them to.
Good point.
Thank
Thank you. And that'd be a lot quicker than a grant, and we can talk to the foreign court member about that easily.
That's what.
The quorum court,
Okay.
isn't the quorum court still kind of working through how that money can be spent?
They're basically saying that it sounds like the ambulance service is going to get the money they have.
Sounds like it, right?
And they were talking about a way to distribute the rest of the money. They have to do it so that it looks even across the board. So they're going to be offering it out, and a little plug, if you want to go up to Hardy P.E.G on Facebook, I had the last quorum court meeting up there that you can watch and kind of see what they were talking about.
It's very interesting because the conversation I had with the attorney in Little Rock today was all about just what you're talking about. Of course, the county's received a lot more revenue because of the population and so forth, and it's a good point.
But you're also counted in the population list. That's what
That's
they
exactly
me all the
right.
time.
We're part of it.
Yeah.
That's true. Does anyone else have any comment? And meeting will be adjourned. Thank you all very much for coming.